What's going on, guys? Back with my 2001 Insight. In this video, I am going to be adding a factory option. So we have the speakers in both the doors, left and right, but that's all you get. And as a factory option, you can have rear speakers, which are right behind the seats, basically. But the thing about that is, like, they're so easy to put in. They're already wired, they're there. All you have to do is cut a hole in the carpet and install them. So that's what I'm gonna do. I've got two of these bad boys here. I'll link this down below in case you want to get these exact same ones or look for similar sizes. I believe these are 6.5. I'll put it right there. And then I've got this cheap head unit that was on sale at Walmart. It's just simple, it's Bluetooth. The only reason why I'm replacing the head unit is because the one I have is so old. There's no Bluetooth and the auxiliary jack is all screwed up, so I get terrible quality. So this thing was like 14 bucks and these were similarly priced. Very cheap, but still having that extra set of speakers in the back and not just these, because this is not a very quiet car because it's so, I don't want to say cheaply made, but it's very light and very thin, so you do get more road noise than usual. So let's do this. Of course, the first thing you need to do is take off your negative battery terminal so you don't blow a fuse or make anything go boom. I always end up blowing a fuse. I always forget doing this, so this is probably the reason. So I'm gonna try to get the best light I can. I'm doing it in the little parking garage today because it is pouring something fierce out there, so I don't want to get drenched while doing this. So inside here, I've got the seats forward, reclined up as much as they can, give you enough room as possible. There's two different ways you can do this. Either you can remove it from the bottom, fold it up to figure out where the holes you need to cut are, or you can do it from the top and fold it down. Either way, you're going to either have to take out the pins that are holding the carpet in place up here, or the ones that you can see that are holding it down there, and of course this little guy right here. So for these, it's pretty simple. You just have to pop the little tab up, and inside here you'll have little Phillips heads. I guess this plastic's just really old. Some of these just snapped off when I bent it up, some of them didn't. So I'm just gonna pop those back on and hopefully they stay once I put this back together. But be aware that those could possibly break. They're very, very flimsy, very thin. So pop those out and then you can get these Phillips so this can detach. And once you get all those screws out, this thing just basically falls right off. You can see in there, there's just the little places where you screw in the Phillips head, and that's the only thing that's keeping it on. So now this whole part is loose, so you can either go in from the bottom or the top. I'm gonna go in through the bottom just because it's easier to film. So the only thing you have in here are these, so I'm gonna grab my trim remover tool, this guy right here, and these are very easy to come out. You just get that down in there, pop it out, and that's what they look like. So I'm just gonna go through and take all these out. So once all of those little pins are out, it's very simple. You just grab the carpet, untuck it from the sides, untuck it from the middle right here where it's tucked into the center console. So it's not needed, but I took this out so you guys can see. There is a screw right here, just a Phillips head screw on both sides of the center console, and then you can pop it out. There's nothing else on the other side, and you can get a better angle to get this out. There is some padding in here, so it's hard to slip out. That's why I took this out. And then you can come back here, and there is one speaker area and the other one over there. So let's get these speakers in so we can get some speakeriness, sound goodness. All right, so I just got the carpet, folded it back, simple as can be. See, back here you have these little plates to keep everything flat. You just pop them out, and you've already got the harness clipped into this, which does absolutely nothing, just to keep the harness in place. And that's already there. Everything is already wired and hooked up. You just need to get a speaker, clip in the speaker, screw it in here for the mounting, and that's it. Then you have to go obviously behind your head unit and make sure the rear speakers are plugged in. But yeah, let me get my new speakers and get these installed. So here's the harness that we have. Now, if you look closely enough, it is going to be 2 wires. One is blue with a black stripe, and the other is blue with a white stripe. The one with the black is your negative, the one with the white is your positive. So there are different ways to do this. You can completely clip this off and strip the wire back. I mean, there's different ways to do this. Basically, wire-to-wire contact is what you're going for here. So the speakers that I have, I mean, they look pretty slick. This is with the faceplate on, this is the one with it off. So pretty slim. I'm thinking they require slim ones because of the battery pack right there. It can't go too deep. So this is what we're working with the positive and negative terminals, and it does supply some wiring here. So these are going to clip directly in, and back here they've already got them cut, so you can do something with soldering, and it gives you these guys for mounting once we get there. Okay, so this is what I have going on right now. I just cut off the harness that was on there since, I mean, it's never going to be used for anything, so chopped it off and not spliced the wires, I stripped the wires, so got those back. Those are 18 gauge, so you can strip those out. So the one with the black is going to be your negative, and the included little harness here has a black line on it. That one goes to the negative, and it does matter because the one with the black line is smaller than the other one. So one's positive and one's negative. So it fits properly on the back here. Skinny one, fat one. Well, there we go. We've got these all beautifully insulated so they're not touching anything. Some electrical tape on there. So now we can tuck that back a little bit. And now all these need to do is just plug into the back of the new speaker. And now we just have to figure out how we're gonna mount it. So it looks like we have 3 good mounting points. Here, here, and here, where I put the little clips. There are 4 clips that come for each side. So 4 clips and 4 screws per speaker. But 3 will work just fine here. So when I put this in, it can't go in straight up and down because nothing fits. But if you rotate it a little bit, you get to a point where each one of those holes lines up. So your speakers are going to be tilted a little bit unless you want to come in here and drill your own holes. But I'm just going to use the existing ones. I don't care how they're oriented back here because, I mean, it's going to be behind the seat, so it's not like you're ever going to see them. You're going to hear them, but you're not going to see them. So I've got all of these set up. So all I need to do now is plug in the back, set it in here, and put the screws in, and we're done with that side. Now over here on the passenger side, you've got quite a bit less room to work with here. It's even got a little divot in this plastic just so you can put a speaker back here. But when it comes to the harness, for this side, the pink one is going to be the positive, and the other one with the yellow stripe, it's like blue and yellowish, that one is going to be your negative. Now that I have both set into place, the next thing to do is to take the carpet and lay it back over, and what you're going to do is you're going to create an outline exactly where these speakers are, and you're going to cut out a hole so obviously the sound cannot be muffled. And once that hole has been created, we can put the cover on and make it look flush and clean. To make sure everything's lined up properly, just make sure that all of those are lined up properly, because that's how this whole thing is going to be set into place once you put it back together. Because if you pull down on it and try to make it as tight as possible, when you actually install this, you're going to have to move it back up, so it's not going to be even. So make sure those are even, and then flatten it out, and then you can just kind of bend it up and just make marks, holes, whatever, to actually create the circle. That's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to come under here, feel it with my thumb, poke a hole, and I'm going to do that in separate spots to create a circle, then get a razor and just cut it out. Now, given this would be much easier with a marker, but it's probably hard to see, but I've made some holes with my razor. I don't think you can see this on the camera, but I've made some holes You can kind of see it a little bit on the camera, but I've made some holes going around into a circle, double check to make sure everything's in the right area. Now I just need to get the razor and connect those dots to make a circle. There we go, got the hole. This cotton is like really hard to cut, so what I ended up doing is just ripping it. It's a lot easier than trying to cut it unless you have some scissors. But there you go, that is lined up. This will get to the outside of it. So all I have to do now is grab my screws, the ones that will actually fit, because the faceplate on here doesn't line up with the screws that I put in. So I'm gonna have to figure out if I'm going to just use all 4 screws, so like 3 or 2 of them in here and then another one through a hole. I don't know how I'm gonna do that. And that is what it looks like once it's done. Looks pretty good from a distance, but if you look up, I literally have like 1 screw that's going through the hole here and then into the speaker into the back. So it is kind of flimsy, but I've got 2, like the one here and here. I have 2 actually holding in the speaker on the other side of the grill, and then I have 1 screw that's going through the grill and then through to the actual speaker onto the back of the car. So that's what they both look like installed. I'm gonna keep everything the way it is just in case for some reason I have to take it back out. It's just less work. So now I'm going to go to the front and work on popping that out and putting a new one in. And if you guys are doing the rear speakers, you're gonna have to pop out your old one anyway in order to plug in the wires if they aren't already plugged in. So just like my video where I changed the cabin air filter, you can watch that up there. Here what we're gonna do is there are 2 Phillips head screws underneath the glove compartment. So we're gonna take those out, and then the glove compartment should come straight down and out. Once the glove compartment's out, that's going to leave you with 2 more Phillips head screws, 1 there and 1 there. Once we take those out, the whole rest of this panel should pop out with clips. So you can see here I got it started, just give it a nice little yank. There's a clip right up there, so if you want to pop it in here or pop it over here, that's just what you got to do, is just pull out, and you've got the clips. There it goes. So all the clips up here, up at the top, pop that down. That's all you need to do. You can move this out of the way if you want to, but remember your cigarette lighter is right there. So now that you have your radio here, depending on which radio you have, it's probably going to be a little bit different, but for this one I have a Phillips head on both sides. If I remove that, it should slide out. And I forgot, there are 2 Phillips head down here and down here. Take those out and this will fall, and then there you go. Your radio is now out, and we can detach the harness here in the back and get these new wires set up on the new radio that I have right down there. I mean, these things are getting so light, so small. So here's the old head unit that I popped out. There's just the antenna that you pull straight out, and this one that had a little clip at the top you squeeze in, and the harness came right out. I am going to save these here on the side. They're just 2 bolts that go in, and then it'll slide into place. So I'm going to see if I can transplant these onto the new one I have over there, which will be easy install because it's the exact same thing. So what we have here, there's some extra wires. Not sure how I'm going to do this yet. I believe these are for the rear, and they're going to splice into the ones here, the ones I was talking about that had the wiring. So I have to look through this jumbled mess to try to find the correct wires coming in from this loom and then see where these go. Okay, so after pulling this out a little bit more, you can see those are the original wires back there. I mean, I don't know what you guys have, but the original wires back there are the same colors as the ones that you wired up for your door speakers or your rear speakers. This is the adapter that it's plugged into, and it goes to different colors. So the ones that aren't plugged in are the purple and the green, and if you trace those up into where they're plugged in up here, they go to the rear speakers. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna connect the green and the purple to the green and the purple over here and hope for the best, because that seems to be the general theme. Everything else is connected up right here in the middle, and these two are the ones that are left out. Alright, so I was right about connecting the wires together. I popped them together, stuck them back in my old one, turned the battery on, turned the key on, and just went around to each one of the speakers. They all work now. So now I have to disconnect the battery, take this back off, and put in the new wiring harness, which connects into the new one, which means I have to go through and connect all of these, which is a total pain, but once it's done, it will be beautiful and actually work, and I can play stuff off my phone instead of just use the radio. Okay, got the old wiring harness off, sitting down over there. All the wires are exposed over here, and I've got the manual in front of me saying what everything is. Basically, it's pretty simple. I mean, right, positive, or right and left, positive, negative, and same thing with the rear. You've got ground, your 12-volt accessory and memory, and power antenna, which we don't have in this car. So the power antenna or amp, I don't have an amp either. Blue's the only one I'm not going to be using. Okay, so finally finished up. It was nothing special. I've already tested it, but pretty much just all the colors match up. All the purple with stripes, the yellow, the black, the red, everything just matches up with the harness that was in here. If you guys don't have that, I'll link the wiring diagram below, just in case you don't have this and you're just using the ones back here, like your radio was stolen or something. I've had to do that before, where this is all you had to work with, all these colors. So I'll link that down below if you guys need it. Only one I'm not using is this one on the wiring harness. It's already got some shrink wrap over it, so I don't have to worry about it shorting on anything. And on the other side, there was a blue. This, I believe, is for something. I can't remember what that's for. I think that's probably for an amplifier. I'm not 100%, but that's not used for anything. And the two oranges, I believe that's for the original radio's brightness, the dimming. So other than those wires, everything else is being used. So I can tuck this back a little bit, plug this in, plug in this guy, the antenna that was hiding back there. And I'm gonna test it out one more time before I put everything back together, just to double check, because like I said, I put everything together just to make sure all the colors were actually correct, because I was reading a bunch of different things and I didn't know if it was right. So let me throw this back in. Alright, so I ended up getting this in. I just screwed these in. Now the problem is I took the screws off of the ones that were originally in the old radio, and there's two mounting places on the side of here that actually work, but the holes aren't big enough, and I drilled them, but they're not threaded, so it was just a pain, and I eventually got it. I just had to get a fat screw and just get into it and self-tap it with a screw, and I've got one screw on each side and it's holding it up, so yeah, I guess that works. So now I just have to put everything back together, put that back in, and I will have a working radio with 4 speakers. Alright, so here it is installed. Head unit is looking beautiful. The Bluetooth works on it, the auxiliary, all this stuff works on it. The speakers, you can't really see the back ones, but everything works.
Are you considering replacing your heating and air conditioning system?
I know that doesn't really matter to you guys, like you can hear it, but all of them work, and it's awesome. So I hope that helped you guys out. If you do want to pop in rear speakers for your Insight, if you don't have an Insight, then I hope you enjoyed watching. Hey guys, thanks for sticking around to the end of the video. If you haven't already, make sure you follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram so you can get some behind the scenes stuff that hasn't happened yet and unreleased content that no one else has seen. And if you haven't already, watch that video. And if you watched that video, watch that video. And if you've watched both of those videos already, make sure you subscribe down here. Yeah, watch this stuff. It's awesome. watched that, and subscribed. I love you.